The sweet, innocent campus beauty braved the storm to reach my door, all because she wanted to sleep at my place for one night. But I turned her away. The next day, she died tragically in the alley by my home. Guilt consumed me afterward. After entering the police academy, I obsessively hunted her killer. But the torrential rain had washed away every trace. For 10 whole years, I found nothing. Then, a sudden bolt of lightning sent me back to this crossroads of fate. Gu, I heard your parents are away on business. You're home alone. Could you let me stay here for a few days? I can do chores to make up for it. I stared at the girl before me. Instinctively, I reached out to touch her. Bai Wei instinctively tried to pull away. But needing help, she forced herself not to. She stood frozen in place. My fingertips met her icy skin. Her slight tremble told me clearly. She was still alive. I had really come back. I am sorry. I suddenly pulled her into my arms. Amid the roar of the rain, silence stretched between us. She stiffened in my embrace. Too afraid to move, I quickly let go, retreating to the edge of the light. You looked freezing. I just wanted to warm you up. Sorry. It's all right. I stepped aside and ushered her inside. Seeing how pale she was, memories surged through my mind. In my previous life, after the killer committed this crime in Shanghai City, he vanished without a trace. This time, I would not only save her, I would use my years of investigative experience to catch the real killer at the crime scene tonight. Bai Wei stood uneasily in the entryway, nervously tugging at her hem. When I turned to get her slippers, she became even more flustered. My socks are wet. I'll get your slippers dirty. I'll go in barefoot. I'll mop the floor for you later. On this stormy night, a man and a woman, alone in the same room, with her clothes soaked through. The situation left her deeply unsettled. She dug her nails deep into her palm, forcing herself to stay calm. While my back was turned, she quickly used the corner of her eye to survey the room. Only when she saw hot tea and messy cardboard boxes on the coffee table did her tense back relax slightly. Use this to dry your hair. Use it if you don't mind. But, could I borrow some clothes too? Only then did I notice. She was clutching her soaked shirt tightly. Since you're changing anyway, why not take a hot bath? You'll catch a cold otherwise. There isn't a bathtub in the guest room. Use the bathroom in my room. I'll run the hot water. Bai Wei lowered her head, embarrassed. She gave a barely audible assent. Water began running in the bathroom. Watching me busy myself, Bai Wei finally gathered her courage. Gu. Just call me by my name. You want to know why I didn't ask why you needed a place to stay? Bai Wei looked up in surprise, then nodded, her eyes full of curiosity. A beautiful girl like you, knocking on my door for shelter in a downpour, must have had no other choice. At those words, Bai Wei's eyes reddened. After testing the water temperature, I rose and slowly walked over to her. I suddenly braced one hand against the wall beside her ear, caging her in my arms. I'm not worried that you have ulterior motives, but aren't you afraid that, by staying here, I might take advantage of you? Bai Wei leaned against the wall, gently biting her lip. A wave of warmth spread through her body. Bai Wei said, I trust you. Her beautiful eyes met mine boldly. That answer left no room for me to test her further. Remembering I still had something important to do tonight, I smiled and withdrew my hand. Go take your bath. As for a change of clothes, with your build, this shirt will work perfectly as a dress. Make do with it for now. Your clothes, put them in the washer, then into the dryer once they're washed. They'll be dry in no time. Bai Wei turned and went into the bathroom. Her thanks was partly for taking her in, and partly for my understanding and acceptance. Listening to the water running in the bathroom, I smiled, left the bedroom, and prepared some ginger tea. A little while later, the bathroom door opened. Bai Wei emerged in an oversized sweatshirt. Steam had flushed her cheeks a soft pink. It revealed her fair skin above the knees. Bai Wei slipped on the fluffy slippers, warm from the dryer. Much of her shyness faded. The moment she stepped out of the bedroom, she caught the sweet, warming scent of honey ginger tea. I came over holding a mug. My gaze swept over the loose collar of her sweatshirt, and my throat bobbed. Come, have some sweet ginger water. Bai Wei took the mug, sipping from it in small mouthfuls. Want me to make you some noodles? Wouldn't that be too much trouble? What trouble? It'll only take a few minutes. Sit down. I'll add to eggs for you. Just as I was about to stand, a small hand caught mine. I'll help too. In the kitchen, my deft knife skills surprised Bai Wei. Soon, neatly sliced tomatoes and ham covered the cutting board. Bai Wei stepped onto a small stool, stretching onto her toes for the carton of eggs on the top shelf. As she moved, the hem of her oversized sweatshirt lifted. I caught a glimpse from the corner of my eye, and my face instantly burned red. Bai Wei seemed to catch my gaze and hastily tugged down her sweatshirt, but she lost her balance on the stool. I quickly reached out from behind to catch her, but my palm accidentally landed somewhere it shouldn't. Her body went limp. She crumpled into my arms. Sandalwood from her hair mingled with the citrus scent of her body wash. The scents suddenly blended together. We both froze. Not until boiling water splashed from the pot was the charged moment broken. I hastily pulled my hand away, stepping back half a pace. I pressed a skimmer into her hand. You stir? As I turned, I glimpsed the tips of my ears glowing red in the mirror. After all these years, it wasn't that I felt nothing for women. There simply had been no one else who could make my heart race like this. Blushing, Bai Wei lowered her head and stirred the noodles. The sizzle of popping oil perfectly concealed the thunder of our heartbeats. The aroma of tomato noodle soup soon filled the kitchen. I brought the noodles to the table, deliberately avoiding her trembling fingertips. Careful, it's hot. Put on whatever you want to watch. The instant the television turned on, Bai Wei suddenly gripped her chopsticks tightly. The screen was playing the adult video I'd forgotten to switch off. The footage was extremely explicit. I gave an awkward cough. Then I quickly switched to the streaming menu and put on Crayon Shin-chan. I'd almost forgotten. Back then, I was afraid she'd catch me watching adult videos, so I refused to let the campus beauty in. Fortunately, after all these years, I had grown far less easily embarrassed. Without blushing or missing a beat, I switched it off quickly as if nothing had happened. Bai Wei quickly changed the subject to, I had no idea you were such a good cook. I took a tissue and gently wiped the tiny beads of sweat from her nose. Slow down, there's more in the pot. She focused on eating her noodles, finishing every last noodle and drop of soup. Her face was full of contentment. Was one bowl enough to fill you up? The words had barely left my mouth when a deafening clap of thunder exploded outside. I instinctively looked at the wall clock. It was 9:57 p.m. until the time of the murder in my past life. There were only about 30 minutes left. In this life, I had to see the killer's true face. Time was running out. I prepared to leave at once and investigate near the crime scene. I brought her a glass of water and draped a blanket over her. Now that you're full, watch television in the living room and let your food settle. I'll wash the bowls when I get back. I'm going out to buy a late-night snack. I'll be right back. You're going out in rain this heavy? It's fine. It's close. As I reached the door, I suddenly stopped and turned around. I was worried the criminal had planned this in advance and might have followed her here, waiting nearby. Remember, until I return, don't open the door for anyone who rings the bell. I have a key. I won't ring the bell. Okay. Bai Wei nodded obediently like a little kitten, wrapping herself tightly in the blanket. As the door closed, she looked around the empty room. Curled up on the couch, she quietly waited for my return. I opened my black umbrella and stepped into the rain. I glanced at my waterproof watch. It was 9:58 p.m. In my past life, the forensic examiner estimated that Bai Wei died around 10:30 p.m. My destination tonight was on the route she had taken in her past life, that 24-hour convenience store. In my past life, Bai Wei borrowed an umbrella from the convenience store. After eating, she headed toward the alley where she was killed. Although she was staying at my place tonight, I had to make sure the timeline wouldn't correct itself by finding a substitute, letting someone else die in Bai Wei's place there. I would never allow that to happen. On the way, I took out my phone and checked the security cameras at home. On the screen, Bai Wei was hugging her knees as she curled up on the couch and watched television. Once I confirmed she was safely at home and hadn't gone anywhere, I quickened my pace. As soon as I neared the convenience store, I heard a muffled groan. A thin figure was curled up beside a dumpster at the alley entrance. Several thugs surrounded him, punching and kicking him. They brazenly demanded to know what he was hiding in his hand. The person pinned to the ground clutched a light gray handkerchief for dear life. A tin box lay beside him. Yichi. I recognized him at once. He was the withdrawn student in my class. Yichi, who was often bullied. At the sound of my voice, the thugs abruptly turned around, their faces instantly turning pale. My parents held considerable influence in Shanghai City, so these thugs usually feared me. Before I even lowered my umbrella, they fled in panic as though they'd seen a ghost. Only the rain drumming against the tin awning remained in the alley. I crouched down and held the umbrella steadily over Yichi's head. Are you all right? Do you want me to take you to the hospital? On his wrist, the scar from a burn 3 months ago was still visible. I reached out to help him up, but he jerked his hand back as if shocked. The tin box struck the wall, and several crayons and half a bag of cat food rolled into the muddy water. Thank you. He lowered his head to pick up his backpack. His soaked bangs hid the beauty mark at the corner of his eye. I noticed dark brown stains beneath the nails of his left hand, like dried blood. In a downpour like this, you're still out feeding stray cats? Yichi gave a vague reply, then suddenly broke into a violent cough. His thin shoulders trembled in the rain. I took off my coat and tossed it to him. Put it on. Isn't your mom away on another business trip? If you get sick again, who's going to look after your little brother? Just then, security footage from my past life suddenly flashed through my mind. In my past life, Bai Wei seemed to see something outside the convenience store. Before heading into the alley, seeing Yichi now, I suddenly understood. Bai Wei must have seen Yichi being bullied. Every detail from my past life raced through my mind. If Bai Wei left the convenience store in my past life to stop the bullying, then her soaking wet appearance could easily have caused the thugs' bullying to escalate into harassment. I tried to recall Yichi's demeanor that Monday in my past life. His injuries had been far worse than they were now, yet he hadn't reacted much to Bai Wei's death. That meant he had most likely held the thugs back at the risk of his life in my past life, which was why they hadn't taken Bai Wei away. Since they hadn't done it, the real killer had to be someone else. After working through it, I instantly locked onto one crucial clue: the murder weapon. The cuts were exceptionally clean. On a night of torrential rain like this, whoever carried that deadly little knife was the prime suspect. Realizing those 3 thugs might have knives on them, I immediately regretted letting them go. As for Yichi, covered in injuries, he had lived safely through graduation in my past life. For now, I could only set him aside. If you're all right, get home quickly. I started to leave, then stopped and glanced at Yichi's broken umbrella. I shoved my black umbrella into his hands. Your umbrella's broken. Use mine. I've got something to do, so I can't take you home. Be careful. Get home now. Before Yichi could refuse, I had already plunged into the downpour, vanishing from sight. Because the rain was so heavy, the 3 thugs hadn't gone far. They were sheltering from the rain beneath an overhang. They cursed as they discussed whether to put a sack over my head and beat me up, but they didn't dare act rashly because of my family's influence. While they were still wavering, I charged right up to them at full speed. The 3 thugs jumped in fright. They thought I was there to demand money, and hurriedly backed away, waving their hands. Hey, gentlemen, let me borrow something. The 3 exchanged looks, their eyes full of suspicion. Not money, something else. The 3 stared at me in confusion. I looked straight at them, with a harmless smile. I want to borrow a knife. The 3 thugs froze. Clearly, they didn't understand what I was asking for. You 3 are street toughs, so don't tell me you don't even carry a knife. The provocation worked. The green-haired thug, unwilling to back down, pulled the butterfly knife from his pocket. He flipped it around shoulderly in front of me. I took one glance and knew it wasn't the knife described in the forensic report. The fruit knife that made those clean cuts. This one's too flashy. I'll offer 100 yuan for one like a fruit knife. $1,000 It's a nice knife, but sadly, I've only got 100 yuan on me. Forget it. Ignoring the thugs' angry curses as they suspected I'd played them, I turned away and plunged back into the freezing rain. Those 3 thugs didn't have the murder weapon I was looking for. That lead was completely dead. A fierce sense of agitation burned in my chest. The simplest way to solve the case was to reject Bai Wei as I had in my past life, then secretly follow Bai Wei. I could catch the real killer red-handed at the crime scene, but given another chance, the moment I saw Bai Wei safe and sound, I simply couldn't suppress the tremor in my heart. I'd rather search for clues like finding a needle in a haystack than risk her life again, even in the slightest. I went back to the convenience store to buy an umbrella. The kind clerk handed me a clean towel to dry the rain from my hair. I thanked them, wiped myself dry, and put my phone in a waterproof pouch. Then I copied Bai Wei's movements and pace when she left in my past life. I opened my umbrella again and stepped into the howling storm. The moment I entered the rain, a violent gust nearly snapped the umbrella ribs. Trudging through mud and shattered glass, I finally reached the start of the camera's blind spot. This was the place repeatedly mentioned as the crime scene in the trace evidence report from my past life. My waterproof watch glowed faintly. Reading 10:17 that night, a sudden gale rose, flipping my umbrella inside out. I simply threw it away, letting the icy rain batter my face and head. My phone vibrated inside its waterproof case. Leaning against the damp brick wall, I opened the camera feed from home. In the warm yellow glow, Bai Wei was curled up in the corner of the couch, rubbing her feet together uneasily. Her eyes kept drifting toward the door. Her expression held hope, yet also betrayed a trace of worry. Just a little longer. Don't worry. The time was 10:29 that night. A sudden burst of clanging metal came from the end of the alley. I immediately crept over on alert, only to unexpectedly spot someone I knew. The notorious school bully at Shanghai Second High School, Jiang. At that moment, he was sitting beneath the rain awning of an illegal structure, peeling an apple with a fruit knife. Is that you, Gu? Why are you out this late in a storm like this? Without even an umbrella? What are you doing here? I came out to handle something. The wind broke my umbrella. What are you doing out so late? Jiang used the knife tip to lift a wrinkled apple from a plastic bag. I knew his school bully persona was only a protective disguise. His family was poor, and his mother suffered from severe uremia. I brought my mom some fruit, but she sent me away. The edges of his rain boots were dusted with the non-slip floor coating common in hospital corridors. He also carried the distinct disinfectant smell of an intensive care unit. Yet my eyes were fixed on the fruit knife in his hand. The features of that knife perfectly matched the murder weapon described in Bai Wei's case. Why are you standing out in the rain? Get over here, quick. My place is right nearby. I'll lend you an umbrella. The moment I stepped beneath the awning, Jiang Yan's phone suddenly began ringing urgently. A nurse cried out anxiously on the other end, saying his mother's blood oxygen level had suddenly dropped. Jiang Yan's face changed instantly. The fruit knife splashed into a puddle. He didn't even have time to say goodbye. Before turning and racing madly into the downpour, I bent down and picked the knife from the muddy water. Its icy touch struck my palm. After carefully examining it, I was completely certain, at this time, in this location, its size and style were a perfect match. This was the key murder weapon that killed Bai Wei in my past life. If Jiang Yan had discarded the weapon by accident, then the real killer would most likely, within the next half hour, pass by and pick it up. I took a deep breath and tossed the knife back where it had been. Drawing on my years of criminal investigation experience, I retreated into the shadows and lay in wait. The rain poured down in sheets. It was 10:35 that night. Reeking of alcohol, a homeless man staggered into the awning for shelter. He kicked over an aluminum can. His mud-caked cloth shoes crushed the knife handle beneath them, driving the blade deep into the mud. Then, clutching a half-empty bottle, he staggered away. It was 10:47 that night. A delivery rider braked sharply to escape the rain. He accidentally stepped on the back of the knife and fell. Cursing under his breath, he climbed back up and kicked the blade into a crack in the storm drain. Filthy mud instantly covered the entire knife. The time was 10:55 that night. The knife lay buried beneath the mud. It would be extremely difficult for anyone to stumble across it by chance now. Until Bai Wei's estimated time of death in my past life, only a few minutes remained. Suddenly, a figure in a black raincoat flashed into view at the end of the alley. He wore a mask. He was hunched over. He walked straight toward the mud-covered knife. Then he crouched down. Every muscle in my body instantly tightened like a drawn bowstring. The instant he reached for the knife handle, on the wrist exposed beneath his cuff, was a striking scar from a sulfuric acid burn. I stepped out of the shadows at once. By the bleak light, I finally saw the face beneath the raincoat clearly. It was the famously kind-hearted teacher at Shanghai Second High School, the chemistry teacher, Mingyuan. A storm of shock surged through me. 3 months ago, he had shielded students who were fooling around in the lab, only to be burned by acid himself. Afterward, he had even gently comforted the student responsible. Everyone knew his wife ran the show. No one who knew him had a bad word to say about him. But if he was the killer, then every unanswered question from my past life made sense. Bai Wei was attacked in a dark alley in my past life, yet there was no sign that she had tried to flee. That was because she, too, trusted this gentle, good man completely. If Li Mingyuan had offered to shelter her beneath his raincoat and take her home, where his wife could look after her, on such a stormy midnight, when she was utterly helpless, Bai Wei would never have been on guard. At that thought, my heart ached unbearably, but I couldn't act rashly. After all, Li Mingyuan had not committed a crime yet. I decided to use my investigative skills to probe why he was out so late. Mr. Li. Li Mingyuan immediately looked up when he saw me soaked to the bone, his face filled with surprise and concern. Gunan. How did you get this drenched? I went out to handle something and got trapped by the rain. Mr. Li, what are you doing out in such heavy rain? I watched his expression closely and sharply caught the flicker of hesitation in his eyes. Nothing. I just came out to buy cigarettes. He was lying. Li Mingyuan did not smoke. Everyone also knew him as a devoted family man. My raincoat is roomy. Come under it and get out of the rain. I'll take you to my place and lend you the raincoat to wear home afterward. He still wore that kindly, approachable expression. I nodded numbly and slipped beneath his raincoat. In the cramped space, I noticed his gaze unconsciously flick toward a nearby adult product vending machine, then quickly pull away. He put an arm around my shoulders. All the way there, I wandered like a soulless corpse. At his front door, Li Mingyuan suddenly took out his phone, sent a message, then swiftly put it away. I forgot my keys. Wait a moment. But I had clearly felt a ring of keys hanging from his waist. This was his second lie tonight. My doubts grew stronger and stronger. A moment later, the door finally opened. The door was opened by Li Mingyuan's wife, Shen King, a chemistry teacher at our school. She wore a silk nightgown, its sash loosely tied. Her cheeks flushed. Warm light spilled from the entryway. I glimpsed an overturned wine bottle on the living room coffee table, burning scented candles and scattered rose petals. A lingering, sensual atmosphere filled the air. In that instant, everything suddenly became clear. Every clue linked into one clear chain. Mr. Li had planned a romantic evening with his wife, but realized they had run out of contraceptives. That was why he had braved the rain to buy some. Being the helpful man he was, he had cleared debris clogging the drain and accidentally picked up that fruit knife. After running into me, he'd been too embarrassed to buy the contraceptives afterward and did not want to leave me alone. So he brought me home, and pretending he had forgotten his keys, then sending that message, was only to give his wife, dressed in seductive lingerie, time to change clothes. Every odd thing he had done now had a perfectly reasonable explanation. How did you get so soaked? I'm sorry. Here, dry off with this towel. Thank you, Mrs. Li. I took the towel and dried my hair, but my suspicions turned into even deeper confusion. If he was still that famously kind-hearted man, if his wife was eagerly waiting for him to come home so they could be intimate, could a man like that really lust after a female student on the street, then murder her and dump her body? Shen King noticed that Li Mingyuan was still holding a filthy knife and asked curiously, "Where did you find that knife? Why is it so dirty?" I found it by the drain. It had caught a lot of trash. Then I ran into Gunan and forgot to throw it away. As Li Mingyuan spoke, he moved to toss the knife into the trash, but suddenly I sensed something was wrong. Wait, Mr. Li, let me see that knife. Puzzled, Li Mingyuan turned the knife around, with the point facing inward, and handed it to me handle first. That instinctive gesture to avoid hurting me once again proved his innate gentleness. I took the fruit knife and examined it closely. My expression changed at once. The light had been too dim before. The blade had a slightly rolled edge. Clearly, the killer had used it to cut something hard. The forensic report said nothing about a rolled edge. The cut marks would be noticeably different. That meant this was not the real murder weapon. I had been chasing the wrong lead entirely. I quickly glanced at my watch. It was already 11 p.m. The real killer might only be appearing now. Panic rose in me. I hurriedly shoved the towel back to Shen King. I'm sorry, Mr. Li. It's too late. I need to get home. I'll borrow your raincoat for now. I pressed the knife handle back into Li Mingyuan's hand, put on the raincoat, and plunged into the downpour. I raced back to the crime scene, searching the area again and again. The occasional pedestrian hurried past, but none seemed likely to stop and commit a murder. By 11:30 p.m., the street was deserted. I took out my phone and checked the surveillance feed. Bai Wei was curled up on the sofa, her head bobbing like a pecking chick, yet fighting to stay awake. She kept glancing at the door, waiting for me to come home. I clenched my fist and simply took off the raincoat, continuing to pace near the dark crime scene. Even after midnight, I still had not seen a single suspicious figure. My heart was gripped by deep helplessness and a chilling dread. Had I really missed him? Even after midnight, I still had not seen a single suspicious figure. My heart was gripped by deep helplessness and a chilling dread. Had I really missed him? If I could not find the killer, how could I ever seek justice for Bai Wei's wrongful death in my past life? I lifted my head, letting the torrential rain lash my face. My gaze grew firmer. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. I immediately opened the surveillance feed. On screen, Bai Wei was bleary with sleep, yet she fought back her fear of being alone and walked to the door, pacing with worry written all over her face. Hey. The sudden voice startled her. She quickly looked toward the surveillance camera. Gunan Sheng. Something held me up. I'll be home soon. If you're tired, get some sleep first. As long as you're okay. I'm not sleepy yet. I'll wait for you. I forced a gentle smile at the camera. I promise I'll be right back. She dragged her exhausted body back beneath the blanket. Her expression relaxed. Looking at the empty street, I stood in the downpour, letting icy water pour over me. It was a habit I'd had for years. Cold water made my mind race. I frantically retraced everyone I had encountered tonight. The convenience store clerk, Yichi, the three thugs. I forced every one of them onto my suspect list. When Yichi was robbed by the thugs, his backpack had been turned upside down, and they had not found a scent on him, let alone a murder weapon. Eliminated. The three thugs. They had motive, but their knives were the wrong type. Eliminated. The knife handled by the homeless man and the delivery rider was not the real murder weapon either. After ruling out everyone who could not possibly be the killer, my memories rewound, settling on someone I had thought impossible. Jiang Yan. Jiang Yan had rushed to the hospital because his mother was critically ill, dropping his knife at the scene. But what if his mother's condition had stabilized quickly? Half an hour was enough for him to make a round trip to the hospital. What if, on his way back, he realized he had lost the knife and bought another fruit knife at a nearby store? The case file did contain a record. Between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock that night, someone had bought a fruit knife in the rain, and his return time had perfectly avoided the time Mr. Li and I were at his house. Once I traced the whole chain, suspicion toward Jiang Yan skyrocketed. Testing this theory was simple. I only needed to knock on Jiang Yan's door now. If he was already home and had really bought a new knife, then the suspicion against him would be confirmed. Following my memory, I reached his neighborhood. My heart sank. The lights in his home were on. I took a deep breath and knocked on his door. The door opened. Jiang Yan was shirtless, with a towel draped over his head. Old Gu, what the hell are you doing? Why aren't you home this late? And where did you get that raincoat? I stepped inside, and my gaze instantly locked onto a brand new fruit knife on the table. The mystery person from the case file who bought a knife in the rain that night really was him. Mr. Li lent it to me. Did you just get back? Yeah. Something happened with my mom earlier. I was so worried that I forgot to lend you an umbrella. What are you doing out instead of going home at this hour? Nothing. I just enjoy walking around in the rain. You were in such a hurry earlier that you dropped your knife. Why did you buy a new one? Damn. No wonder I searched every pocket and couldn't find it. Where did I drop it? Mr. Li picked it up and threw it in the trash. Forget it then. That knife's edge was slightly rolled from cutting wood anyway. I picked up a new one on the way back. He smiled casually, but my heart sank into darkness. The time he got home perfectly matched the time of the crime, and he really had bought the same kind of murder weapon. There was no way to rule him out. I chose my words carefully and decided to test him directly. Jiang Yan, we're friends, right? Just friends. We're brothers. Did something happen? Just tell me straight. Seeing his loyal expression, I looked straight into his eyes. I don't want to see you end up in prison someday. Think about the consequences before you act. Your mother needs you to look after her. Don't do anything illegal. Jiang Yan froze. He completely misunderstood me. He thought I had learned his secret plan to sell counterfeit cigarettes at school. Not only was he not angry, he was moved that I had come through the rain to talk him out of it. He was deeply touched. Don't worry. Others might not know how I operate. But you do, don't you? I won't do it. Seeing that I'd achieved my goal, I got up to leave. I had no idea that this accidental warning made him completely abandon the idea of selling counterfeit cigarettes. As I turned and walked into the rain, behind me, he theatrically thumped his chest and silently swore that I would be his brother for life. With mixed feelings, I said goodbye to Jiang. Taking Mr. Li's raincoat, I quietly returned to his door and left it outside. From inside came faint sounds suggestive enough to make anyone blush, so I had left without disturbing them. I walked home through the downpour, but my mood gradually eased. If Jiang really was the killer, then at least for now, he could still be guided onto the right path and rid himself of his dark thoughts. Of everyone I met tonight, for now, no one seemed more suspicious than him. It was past midnight when I got home. At the sound of the door opening, Bai Wei, half asleep beneath a blanket, suddenly opened her eyes. When she saw me return, a joyful smile immediately spread across her face, and she hurried over. But the moment she got close, she saw I was drenched to the bone. You went to buy a late-night snack. How did you get yourself this wet? The wind and rain were too strong. My umbrella broke. The storm blew away the food too, so there is nothing for you to eat. Go take a hot bath, quickly. You'll catch a cold like this. Seeing the concern on her face, I smiled. The guest room has nothing but a hard wooden platform to sleep on, with no bedding set up. Why don't you make do on the sofa tonight? Or squeeze in with me. I'll sleep on the sofa. I'm kidding. You take the bed. I'll sleep on the sofa. Let me take a bath first. I don't want to soak the floor you just mopped. So, right there in the living room, I took off my waterlogged clothes. Hearing the rustle of fabric, Bai Wei instinctively looked up. The taut lines of my muscles made her heart pound. Her face burned hot. Her throat felt stuffed with cotton, leaving her speechless. I'll go take a bath. When I'm done, I'll call you into the bedroom to sleep. I didn't notice her unusual reaction. Grabbing my wet clothes, I went into the bathroom. Bai Wei nodded mechanically. Only when water began pattering in the bathroom did she collapse onto the sofa as if her bones had vanished. She pressed the back of her hand tightly to her burning cheeks. After an unknown length of time, I came out wrapped in a towel. I meant to tell her to sleep in the bedroom, but saw her, like a kitten, curled up on the sofa, hugging the blanket in deep sleep. Her breathing was soft and peaceful. I walked over slowly and crouched down. Quietly, I studied her sleeping face. Watching her steady breathing, I still felt as if I were dreaming. As I reached out to brush the hair from her face, an undried drop of water from my arm fell onto her slightly parted lips. She unconsciously licked it. Startled, I quickly curled my fingers. Thunder crashed outside. Bai Wei suddenly turned over and kicked half the blanket away. I instinctively reached out to catch it, but touched her warm, soft ankle instead. I could clearly feel her once steady breathing become uneven. Her eyelashes trembled violently, and her temperature slowly rose. She was awake, but kept her eyes closed. I didn't expose her. Instead, I lifted her up, blanket and all, and carried her steadily to the bedroom. The girl in my arms grew even more tense. I gently laid her on the bed, pulled away the blanket, and covered her with my quilt. Then I bent down beside her ear. Good night. My warm breath made her instinctively draw in her neck. I smiled, then turned and left the room. As the door closed, Bai Wei opened her eyes in the darkness. In truth, during those few short steps from the living room to the bedroom, her mind had already gone completely blank. She had been nervous beyond measure, never expecting such a sweet good night. She clutched the edge of the quilt and raised it to her nose. It still carried the faint scent of body wash. For the first time in her life, she did not curl herself up. Instead, she stretched out and wrapped the quilt tightly around herself, then fell soundly asleep. The next morning, the torrential rain that had fallen all night finally began to ease. Well rested, Bai Wei got up early. She changed into the clothes dried overnight. To keep her promise to repay me through housework, she diligently cleaned my bedroom until it was spotless. But when she quietly stepped out of the room, she suddenly froze. I had been utterly exhausted last night. With a bath towel around my lower body and a blanket over me, I had passed out on the sofa. I was facing away from her then, but the towel that should have been wrapped around me had somehow fallen completely to the floor. Bai Wei's little face instantly flushed scarlet. To distract herself, she skillfully used ingredients from the refrigerator to make sandwiches and hot milk. Yet her mind kept involuntarily replaying that mortifying sight from earlier. Just as Bai Wei set breakfast on the table, I woke up on the sofa as well. Still half asleep, I instinctively reached for my nightstand, searching for my service weapon, but touched only the cold glass of the coffee table. I abruptly pushed myself upright with my left hand. The old injury in my left shoulder from chasing a violent criminal didn't send even the slightest stab of pain. I pressed my temples and frowned as I lifted the towel. The skin before my eyes felt utterly disconnected from my memories. The knife scars from my fights were gone. In their place was a smooth, unscarred young body. I was fully awake. I really had returned to 10 years ago. I jerked my head toward the wide-open bedroom door. My heart skipped a beat. Only when I saw her busy silhouette in the kitchen did I sink heavily back onto the sofa and let out a long breath. Thank goodness, it wasn't a dream. She really survived that stormy night. In my previous life, as a detective, I carried endless guilt and exhaustion. I never enjoyed even one day of a young person's life. Now, she was still here, and my youth had returned too. This time, I decided to make the most of my second chance. Gunan, it's time to get up and eat. I've made breakfast. I don't know if it's to your taste. Bai Wei peeked out from the dining room and called softly. I sat up and breathed in the scent. The tempting aroma of wheat and milk drifted through the air. Coming, I walked over to the dining table. Bai Wei was quietly sitting there, waiting for me. You don't have to wait for me next time. Go ahead and eat first. It's fine. I have to wait for you to finish so we can wash the dishes together anyway. Try it and see if you like it. If it needs improving, I'll fix it next time. With cooking this good, you could open a shop behind the school. I'll run the register, and you can do the cooking. I used to be pretty diligent when I lived alone. But living with you, I'm afraid you'll turn me into a lazy pig. Ha ha. Bai Wei cupped her cheeks in both hands, her smile growing brighter. I took a bite of the sandwich. Warm fried egg and cheese melted across my tongue. It was surprisingly delicious. I pulled out a tissue and casually wiped the speck of grease from the tip of her nose. Bai Wei's ears instantly turned red. Shyly, she lowered her head and stirred the milk in her cup. After breakfast, I was about to clear the dishes. When I touched the hand she reached out, it was soft, but cool to the touch. Bai Wei insisted on taking care of all the chores. With remarkably swift movements, she left the kitchen spotless. The moment she left the kitchen, she looked around again, ready to find more work to do. I grabbed her small hand and firmly sat her down on the sofa. You don't look very well. No chores for the next 2 days. I'm the owner here. You have to obey me and get some proper rest. Otherwise, I'll have to kick you out. My words startled Bai Wei. She obediently nodded. Come shopping with me later. I'll buy you a few new outfits. I'll go home and get a change of clothes. At the mention of going home, she clearly looked uneasy and reluctant. No need. We'll buy new ones. If you don't have money, I'll cover it for now. Principal and interest included. You'll have to work as my housekeeper for a full 10 years. If you can't pay it all back, I won't let you leave. Of course, Bai Wei heard the plea for her to stay beneath my words. Warmth flowed through her heart. At last, she gave me a peaceful smile. Then she quietly agreed. Where do you usually buy clothes? At the thrift shop around the corner behind the school. 50 yuan can get you a whole outfit. But I disinfect them carefully. I boil them in water 3 times, then leave them out in the sun. There was a trace of unease in her soft voice. She was afraid I would look down on her for it. A place suddenly came to mind. The clothes there were quite nice. When I suddenly took her hand, Bai Wei stumbled half a step, her forehead lightly bumping against my shoulder blade. She didn't pull away. She let me lead her to a glass storefront on the corner. The tailor's shop's wooden door stood slightly ajar. The chime of a brass bell and a languid French song from the gramophone mingled together. Bai Wei looked at the expensive fabrics displayed in the window. Uneasily, she pinched Gunan sleeve. This place looks so expensive. The owner is an old classmate of my mom's. She mainly serves students. It isn't expensive. Come on in. I pushed open the door. The shop was filled with the scent of freshly pressed cotton. Aunt Sue looked up from behind the counter. Her gaze fell on our clasped hands, and fine smile lines crinkled at the corners of her eyes. Oh, what a lovely girl. Nansheng, you brought your girlfriend to pick out clothes. Bai Wei's ears instantly turned crimson. Noticing her nerves, I gently released her hand. Aunt Sue, help her pick out a few outfits for the new season. And a few sets of underwear. Pure cotton, Class A. Aunt Sue smiled and took Bai Wei's hand, leading her behind the fitting curtain. The curtain only concealed her from the neck down. Bai Wei kept feeling as though she was exposed to my gaze. Blushing shyly, she kept shrinking behind the racks. I retreated to a seat by the window. Absent-mindedly, I flipped through a catalog, but the soft voices behind the curtain carried clearly to me. I really don't need the lace ones. Listen to me, dear. A woman should dress for herself. Underwear is worn underneath. All that matters is whether you like it. This set will absolutely drive that rascal Nanchang wild. You like it. And he'll like seeing it too. Best of both worlds. Bai Wei wanted to explain our relationship, but the words wouldn't come out. In the end, she only blushed and agreed. After choosing the underwear, Anzu gathered several outfits and went behind the curtain. Hearing fabric rustle inside, a thin sheen of sweat formed at the nape of my neck. I couldn't stop imagining how she would look in them. The curtain swished open. Do I look strange? Bai Wei pinched her skirt hem and turned halfway around. Morning light wrapped her in a translucent honeyed glow. Her cotton skirt swayed in graceful arcs like newly blooming lilies of the valley. My throat bobbed hard. I suddenly stood and straightened her shirt collar. The second button is in the wrong hole. My fingertips accidentally brushed the skin at the side of her neck. I snatched my hand back as though shocked. I grabbed a straw-brimmed sun hat and set it on her head to hide my fluster. Looks like you're both very pleased. Try this one too. The curtain opened again. The sheer rammy fabric outlined her girlish curves in the morning light. For a moment, I couldn't look away. Anzu had an excellent eye. Every outfit she chose fit Bai Wei perfectly. Seeing that she was getting carried away, I hurriedly stopped her. All right, Anzu. No more outfits. I'm about to max out my card. What are you worried about? Just have your mom reimburse you later. She'd be thrilled to spend money on her future daughter-in-law. I thought you'd had already slept together. With a wry smile, I repeatedly asked her to keep it secret. Still teasing us, Anzu gave us a friends and family discount of 90%. At checkout, she wrapped the underwear separately and leaned close to whisper in my ear. Your little girlfriend's figure. I've already checked her measurements for you. I choked on a cough. My ears burning, I handed over my credit card. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Bai Wei standing on tiptoe, looking at a lace nightgown by the window. In the morning light, she looked impossibly young and lovely. In 8 days, the gruesome death scene photograph from that torrential night in my previous life flashed through my mind again. I clenched my fist. Silently, I swore to myself, as long as I live in this life, I will protect this beauty before me with everything I have. With the clothes taken care of, only bedding remained. I carried the shopping bags out front. Bai Wei walked a little behind me, secretly watching me from the corner of her eye. Inside one bag, a mint green lace hem fluttered lightly in the breeze. The furnishing store is on the 4th floor. Just pick whatever you like. After all, you're the one who'll sleep in it. We looked just like a young couple shopping together. Nervous but sweetly happy, she entered the bedding store. The warm yellow lighting made everything seem soft. I pushed the cart beside her, watching her bend down to choose. It felt as if we were newlyweds furnishing a home. Isn't this too expensive? Expensive? Nonsense. If you like it, try it first. I took down a silk comforter and tucked it into her arms. She smiled but said nothing. While I crouched by the shelf, comparing fillings, she quietly took the 4-figure silk comforter and put it back. She picked up a cheaper light green washed cotton one instead. This one feels nice. Nice, how so? The quality feels awful. Then I realized the price had scared her off. I stood and lightly tapped her forehead. Good bedding improves your sleep. Besides, you won't be staying in the guest room from now on. Once we wash it, we can save it for guests to use. It's fine to buy the expensive one. His use of "we" and "you won't be staying in the guest room" made her read more into it. She froze slightly. Come test how supportive this mattress is. Before she could react, I pulled her into the fluffy silk comforter. I slipped a memory foam pillow beneath her head. Through her clothes, my palm lightly supported the curve of her lower back. Bai Wei sank into the soft bedding. Her cheeks faintly flushed. She felt as though the air around her was filled with a honey-sweet scent. After we bought everything, she stared at the pale cherry-pink comforter in the cart and thanked me softly. Thank you, Gunancheng. I suddenly stopped. She instinctively bumped into my back. You don't need to say thank you anymore. Actions speak louder than words. Before you repay me, you must not let anything happen to you, no matter what. Though stunned, she obediently nodded. Come on, let's go home. After paying, I left our address for the store to deliver everything. Then I took her home, carrying the clothes. As we passed the used book market on the corner, the scent of sweet fermented rice and osmanthus wafted through the air. I bought a piping hot rice cake. I blew on it and held it to her lips. She took a bite. Osmanthus petals clung to the corner of her mouth. I casually wiped them away with my thumb. Is it good? Very sweet and fragrant. Next time, I'll take you down Snack Street. There are even more good things to eat there. Hearing my promise, she gazed dreamily at my retreating back. I didn't know that she had always remembered the promise we made in the park as children. When we got home after buying toiletries, the bedding had already arrived. I was kneeling on the guest room floor, putting a cover on the comforter. Bai Wei stood nearby, holding her new pillow. I'll do it. I'm afraid you'll sew yourself into the comforter. I shook out the star and moon pattern sheet, then turned and draped it over her head like a curtain. Now, this entire bed and this whole room are yours. For as long as you want to stay. At those simple words, she suddenly turned away. I immediately noticed a faintly sour note in the air. Her shoulders were trembling unnaturally. She was crying. Perhaps it was the first time she had felt what it was like to have a home. To lighten the mood, I deliberately made a joke. Don't get emotional just yet. I'm still charging you rent as usual. You can stay here, but you'd better figure out how you'll repay your debt. Bai Wei wiped at the corners of her eyes. Okay. I had just gotten Bai Wei settled in and lay down on the couch to catch my breath when the doorbell suddenly rang. Startled, Bai Wei instinctively stepped back. After the tragedy of my last life, my nerves were stretched to their limit. I didn't dare let my guard down for even a moment, afraid the killer lurking in the shadows was outside that door. I sprang to my feet. Wait, I'll get it. Noticing my excessive protectiveness, Bai Wei was a little surprised, but a sweet warmth flickered in her eyes. With every nerve on edge, I peered through the peephole, only to find Jiang standing outside. He was my prime suspect. On this day in my last life, Jiang had never come to my home. The timeline had changed. This unexpected visit put me instantly on high alert. I forced down my racing heart and opened the door. Jiang, what are you doing here? Can I come see you for no reason? The wind and rain were brutal last night. You got soaked out there. I was worried you'd catch a cold, so I had my mom teach me to make soup to warm you up. Looking at the thermos in his hands, I suddenly understood. My going out in the rain to talk sense into him last night had moved him, setting off this butterfly effect. Looking at this boy before me, a boy who valued brotherhood above all else, I didn't know how to react. My head really is starting to throb. Then hurry and drink to bowls while it's hot. Jiang was just about to step inside when he spotted Bai Wei behind me, under my protection. He paused. His gaze darted back and forth between us. I get it. Hello, sister-in-law. Looks like I came at the wrong time. Drink this brown sugar, ginger, and jujube soup while it's hot. It's good for you too, sister-in-law. I still need to go to the hospital and take care of my mom. Jiang turned and ran off at top speed, watching his bright, straightforward retreating figure. My feelings were a tangled mess. It was hard to believe someone so loyal and devoted could be the murderer. I even desperately wanted to find the real suspect as soon as possible, to clear him of suspicion in my mind. Bai Wei watched Jiang leave. Everyone says he's the school's notorious bully, but why doesn't he seem like one at all? You can't judge a book by its cover. He's got a story too. A lot of things aren't as simple as they seem. I opened the thermos. A rich scent of ginger and jujubes filled the air. I poured out to bowls. Drink it while it's hot. You got soaked last night too. You've looked pale lately. Drink more and build up your strength. The spicy sweet soup slid down my throat. Warmth spread through her limbs. I'd always heard people say bad things about him. I never expected him to be such a decent person. Life forced his hand, that's all. He never had to become that way. Bai Wei's expression suddenly darkened. Clearly, those few simple words had struck deep into the pain of her own difficult life. As for Bai Wei's family, I only knew the basics. When I investigated her case in my last life, I spoke to her parents, but got almost nothing. Her parents had divorced and started new families. She had always lived with her mother. That convinced me that on that stormy night in my last life, Bai Wei had come to me with nowhere else to go, and it was absolutely tied to her family. In my last life, I learned from the neighbors that Bai Wei had run out of her house through the rain that night, after clashing with her stepfather. Apparently, she had even stabbed him. But when I questioned them, they denied it outright. They said the floor had been slippery, and her stepfather had accidentally fallen onto the knife her mother was using to peel an apple. They also said her stepfather had seen that Bai Wei's phone contained pictures of a boy and scolded her, which led to the argument. Not long after Bai Wei left home, they went to the hospital. Security footage confirmed when they arrived, clearing them of suspicion. Yet when they learned Bai Wei had died, her stepfather showed no reaction. Her mother, however, collapsed on the spot and lost her mind afterward. What hurt me even more was that the investigation showed, after Bai Wei left her mother's house, she went to her father's home. But not long after, she came back out. In the footage, her head hung low, and she looked even more despondent than before. That stormy night, both homes of the people closest to her had shut her out. Only then did she come to my home. I couldn't imagine how much despair she had endured. By the time she knocked on my door, whenever I thought of it, regret surged over me like a tidal wave. Thankfully, heaven gave me another chance. I would never let go of her hand again. I carried a glass of hot milk over to the couch. Bai Wei was curled up in the corner, reading. Warm light outlined her slender frame. I glimpsed her absent-mindedly, stroking the faint pink, crescent-shaped scar on the inside of her left wrist. Try it. I added honey. I placed the glass in her palm. She was about to thank me, but remembered my ban on it, and swallowed the words back. Amid the milky fragrance, I noticed she was reading the I Ching I had casually left on the shelf. She was really studying it. What, do you want to become a fortune teller? Sure. Once I learn it, I'll read your fortune. She gave me a playful smile. As we talked, the screech of brakes suddenly rang out from outside. Bai Wei's back went rigid. She nearly spilled the milk. I quickly took her trembling hand. Once I confirmed nothing had happened outside, I sat back down beside her and gently held her hand. Don't worry. You still owe me. Until it's paid off. No one gets to take you away. No one can take you away. Hearing this after her scare, Bai Wei felt her heart pound even harder. Once you learn it, see if we're compatible. I'm afraid you'll bring bad luck to your creditor. At those words, Bai Wei instantly blushed bright red. It was as if I'd hit a nerve. She quickly looked away in panic. She had secretly checked our compatibility charts long ago. To her surprise, they were a perfect match. She had even drawn a little heart between them. Where do you want to apply for college? I have a few ideas, but I haven't decided yet. What about you? Mine is simple. Wherever you apply, I'll apply to. You owe me a huge debt. If I don't keep an eye on you, you might run off, and I'd lose everything. Bai Wei held her spoon, tracing little circles, as she looked into my smiling eyes. A bittersweet warmth rose in her throat. I want to apply to Jiang University, or study psychology at Jingdu Medical University. Those are the very hard schools to get into. Why psychology? I suddenly remembered her mother losing her mind. Could her mother have already had a mental illness? Bai Wei parted her lips, but ultimately offered no explanation. It's a good major. It'll also strengthen your mental resilience. I'll work as hard as I can. Then I'll tutor you. She looked at me in surprise. My grades are only average in our class, while she ranks among the best. HMPH, what? You don't believe in me? No, you're lying. Whenever you lie, you can't look people in the eye, and you hesitate when you speak. I know. To her, those words meant I'd been quietly watching her all along. Her heart instantly felt sweeter than the milk. To prove myself, I grabbed a workbook called 5 Years of Entrance Exams, 3 Years of Mock Test. I flew through several pages of problems, fast and accurate. In my last life, to get into the People's Public Security University and hunt down the real killer, I studied myself nearly insane. These questions were already etched into my soul, seeing my hidden academic talent. Doesn't that mean I'll owe you tutoring fees too? What if I can't pay you back? Then hurry up and sign a contract of servitude. I pulled out paper and a pen and handed them to her. I was only joking, but she actually took them, lowered her head, and began writing earnestly. I wanted to see what she would write. Instead, Bai Wei had only written indenture and contracting party, followed by the name Bai Wei. The middle was left almost entirely blank. She smiled and handed the paper back to me. You can fill in the terms yourself, dear creditor. Then I can do whatever I want. Then what service would you like, my dear creditor? She smiled mischievously. I suddenly leaned close to her ear. My warm breath brushed the back of her ear, making her shiver with a ticklish sensation. Forget the service. But I do have one command. Tonight, Bai Wei nervously swallowed. You must be in bed by midnight. Sleep, and don't get up before 7 tomorrow. I'll make breakfast tomorrow. Her heart warmed at once, and she beamed. As you command, dear creditor. That night, under my ironclad orders, Bai Wei obediently went to bed. I poured her a glass of hot milk. Then I stepped out. Bai Wei looked at the doorknob, but ultimately left it unlocked. Back in my room, I let out a long breath. In my past life, to numb my guilt, I threw myself into casework like a madman. I even refused the easy post my mentor arranged for me. I was terrified that, if I had time to rest, I'd think of her. Now that I'd returned 10 years in time, she was saved, and I was finally free, too. After talking myself through it, I fell into a deep sleep. In my dream, I returned to a corner of the park from my childhood. A little girl, delicate as a porcelain doll, was sobbing. I'm not crying. Did they bully you? I'll make them apologize to you. The little girl hurriedly grabbed him. She said it had nothing to do with anyone else. Little Gu Nansheng pulled out the clean handkerchief his mother had packed for him. He gently wiped away her tears. With innocent confusion, he peered at his reflection in a puddle, making the little girl laugh through her tears. Ha ha ha. My name is Gu Nansheng. I come here to play all the time. Whenever you're unhappy, you can come find me. At his mother's call, the little boy ran away. The alarm blared. I jolted awake. I muttered, why did I suddenly dream about my childhood? At the same time, Bai Wei fell into that same dream of the park. Don't cry. I thought something terrible had happened. Both my mom and dad left me. Little Bai Wei looked at him in surprise. She hadn't expected this little boy to be so strong. She pulled him into her arms and began comforting him instead. What will you do now that your parents are gone? I'll live with my grandparents. The adults said they'll come back once they're done with their business. I heard that when parents leave, they'll start new families, and they won't want me anymore. I'm so scared. The little boy wiped away her tears again. Then he took her hand. Then come to my house. My house is pretty big. I heard my parents say they wanted a daughter. We can be a family. Those innocent words made little Bai Wei burst into tears again. So there was still a place for her in this world. Yet after that day, she never came back. She left behind a note filled with thanks. She tucked it beneath something at the place where they often met. At the end of the dream, Bai Wei watched the child's retreating back. At some point, her eyes had filled with tears. I knocked on the guest room door and woke Bai Wei. At the breakfast table, I had specially made red date, red bean, barley, and lily porridge. It was meant to nourish her and restore her strength. Watching her sip the porridge like a kitten, wary of the heat, I couldn't help staring at her. I suddenly realized you remind me of someone. A little girl I met when I was very young. We played together for less than 2 weeks before she moved away. I think you look a lot like her. Didn't she say goodbye to you? At Bai Wei's question, I drifted into my memories. Not in person. I only found a tattered little note, and that's how I learned she'd left. The rain had ruined it, leaving only half behind. As I looked at Bai Wei, she seemed more and more like that little girl. I asked whether, when she was little, she had met a little boy in a park, but she only gave me a playful smile. She told me to guess. Bai Wei's joy was plain for anyone to see. She finally understood. The reason I hadn't reacted when I first heard her name was that the note with her name on it had been torn apart. Knowing that I'd actually remembered her all along, she was unusually defiant and didn't give me the answer outright. I guess you're not her. Because you're far prettier than she was. Her little face flushed scarlet at once. I smiled smugly. After breakfast, I prepared to take her out to buy a phone. After all, I couldn't keep her by my side 24 hours a day. Meanwhile, I was figuring out how to ask my mother, who lived out of town, for a loan. After buying clothes and luxury bedding last night, my credit card was nearly maxed out. I'd only just texted to borrow 5,000 yuan, but Mom unexpectedly sent me 50,000. Mom's message read, if it isn't enough, tell me, and make sure you treat your girlfriend right. I gave a wry smile. It seemed Ansu had already reported to Mom that I'd taken a girl shopping for intimate clothes. With that generous financial support, I immediately felt more secure. With nothing to do that Sunday, was there somewhere you wanted to go? I'd like to visit the park in the old district. The old district park. Wasn't that where, all those years ago, I met that little girl? Adding that to what she just said. Didn't she say goodbye to you? And the way she couldn't meet anyone's eyes when she lied. With those little pauses in her speech, every detail clicked perfectly into place. My heart pounded violently. In my past life, when she died, my world had gone dark. I had no heart to think about my childhood. But thinking it over now, she was that little girl from back then. That park is perfect for flying kites. Let's pick up a kite on the way. Then we can visit the snack street afterward. Okay. I've never flown a kite before. Watching her light up, like a child at the thought of flying a kite, my heart ached for her. Ordinary, everyday things were rare experiences for her. I silently swore to myself, no matter how much color her life had lacked, I would help her fill in every missing shade. First, we'll buy you a phone. What if something happens when you don't have one? Hearing my clumsy excuse, she smiled and nodded. As we pushed open the glass door of the phone shop, the clerk eagerly lifted the dust cover and recommended a pink phone for young couples. At that description, Baiwei shyly pinched the hem of her pale green skirt. I pointed to the smoky pink phone priced at 4,888 yuan. When I saw her staring blankly at the price tag, I reached out and blocked her view. Don't look at what you shouldn't. Your creditor has the final say. The clerk brought over a display model and showed us how to take a selfie. My profile flickered across the viewfinder. Baiwei nervously pressed the shutter, but the photo captured only a corner of my clothes. I leaned in and took her hand. The warmth of my palm seeped through the back of her hand into her skin. With my face nearly against her temple, I pressed the shutter. The screen lit up. In the picture, she tilted her head up slightly. My profile brushed against her hair. The glass behind us reflected our overlapping silhouettes. Anyone would think we were a young couple secretly taking selfies. After we bought the phone, the clerk offered to engrave a couple's initials for free. Then engrave this, GNCMM. Baiwei stared at the letters, utterly confused. The first three are the initials of my name. But what do the last two letters mean? As we left the shop, she was still lost in thought and nearly tripped over the threshold. I reached out and caught her securely in my arms. The sweet fragrance of her hair lingered beneath my nose. Watch where you're going, silly girl. Come on, tell me already. Otherwise, I won't be able to stop thinking about it. Rarely, she tugged on my sleeve and pleaded sweetly. All right, you win. Am I not your creditor? The two M's stand for my master. Baiwei suddenly understood. Then she seemed to think of another meaning. Her heart suddenly raced. Her lovely pink face flushed crimson again. Seeing Baiwei's deeply blushing face, I chuckled to myself. Those two M's must have made her think of my man. I didn't point it out. That girl's mix of insecurity and hope made her especially enchanting. The bus swayed toward the old district. It was where our childhoods had overlapped. I took out one earbud and gently placed it in her ear. Have you heard this song? It's by Jiang. Don't cry, my dearest love. I like it a lot. In that instant, a flood of memories flashed through my mind. In my past life, one listened to this song countless times late at night, mourning her brutal death. That lyric, tonight, I bloom like an epiphyllum, then wither at my most beautiful moment, felt like a prophecy of her fate. Leiting's ethereal, sorrowful cover flowed through the earbud. As Baiwei listened, tears silently slid down her face. I didn't know that, in her past life, she had countless times wanted to end her life on a rooftop. The memory of that little boy from her childhood had carried her through to this day. These tears now were her farewell to the gloomy girl she once was. As I drifted into grief, a soft hand gently touched my cheek. Baiwei's eyes were filled with heartbreaking concern. Just like when we were children, she suddenly leaned over and held me tightly. The warmth radiating from her slender body merged with that of the little girl who had comforted me in the park. In my memories, I didn't pull away. I let time stand still in that moment. Morning sunlight streamed through the bus window, dispelling the shadows that had long weighed on our hearts. After we got off the bus, the old district breeze carried the fresh scent of camphor leaves. The breakfast stalls around us, the ringing bicycle bells. Nothing had changed. Come on, let's buy a kite at the end of the alley. Like a curious child, Baiwei followed closely behind me. We stopped at a kite stall. She immediately fell for a peach-pink butterfly kite. Would the young couple like one each? This blue one is a perfect match. Just the one, then. If we fly to, how will I find a chance to hold her little hand? The shopkeeper blinked, taken aback by my teasing. Bai Wei covered her mouth and giggled. Much of her earlier awkwardness faded away. The spring breeze brushed our faces. I ran ahead with the kite, showing her how to launch it. Pick up speed. Run, quickly. Following my instructions, the butterfly kite finally rode the wind into the sky. Bai Wei looked up at the sky, her eyes shining with a light I'd never seen before. Want to try? I handed her the spool. The wind suddenly strengthened. She stumbled, and I wrapped my arms around her from behind. My warm palms covered the backs of her hands. As our fingertips brushed, I breathed in the jasmine scent of her hair. Gunan, I remember how you always said clouds looked like cotton candy when we were kids. You wanted to know what they tasted like. Now I've found something even more like it. It's you. Because your smile is like cotton candy, soft and sweet. In the middle of our sweet moment, I suddenly spotted a familiar figure crouching nearby. Jiang, what are you doing here? Jiang froze for a moment. Oh, nothing. He laughed it off, saying he was waiting for a friend. Following Jiang's gaze, I saw he was staring at a girl with a single ponytail helping at her father's barbecue stall. Seeing that girl, I suddenly remembered the tragic events involving Jiang in my past life. In my past life, Jiang and this girl fell in love. To dispel the girl's father's prejudice over his reputation as the school's bully, Jiang went to great lengths. He cut his hair short, endured the pain of having his tattoos removed, distanced himself from his bad crowd, quit smoking, and even began dressing neatly and cleanly. But no matter how much he changed, in the girl's father's eyes, he was still a vicious wolf trying to deceive his daughter into loving him. The girl felt sorry for Jiang and ran away from home in anger to move in with him. Jiang's mother was happy, but often urged the girl to return and talk things over with her father. But rather than understanding, the girl's father came straight to their door with the police. In front of all the neighbors, he screamed that Jiang had ruined his daughter's reputation and threatened to charge him with rape. Jiang's mother already suffered from severe uremia and complications. Shocked by this, the shock and rage overwhelmed her, and she died on the spot. The girl's father was utterly stunned. He had only meant to frighten Jiang, never imagining it would cost someone her life. What should have been a wonderful romance became a blood feud in an instant. Jiang's mother had been his only emotional anchor. Overwhelming grief and rage nearly drove him to fight to the death on the spot, although the girl's father later regretted it and relented. How could Jiang betray his own conscience? By staying with the daughter of the man who killed his mother. In the end, they went their separate ways. Not long after, Jiang dropped out and left the city. Years later, I ran into him while investigating a case. He had become a barely clothed, homeless man sleeping beneath a bridge. He had lost his mind. He repeated only one thing. He had an enemy who killed his mother. He wanted revenge, but unbearable pain had burned away his reason. He forgot how to take revenge, and could only spend the rest of his life in madness. Remembering his vacant, foolish expression then, the ache in my heart was no less than what I felt over Bai Wei's tragedy. So, even though that knife-pointed suspicion at him in my past life, I still firmly believed he could never be such an unforgivable murderer. Since heaven gave me another chance, I could not let this tragedy happen again. I planned to give the 100,000 yuan reward for the fugitive lead I had prepared to Jiang, with an official commendation from the police. The girl's father's prejudice against him would surely be reduced by more than half. Yan. What is it, Gu? I'll tell you at school tomorrow. Jiang scratched his head, looking utterly confused. As we spoke, a boy walked past, holding a little boy's hand. When he saw me, he instantly froze in place. Yiqi, what a coincidence. Out shopping with your little brother? Yiqi nodded expressionlessly, as if he did not know how to face me. Hello, Brother Gu. His younger brother, Yiqi, was sweet, though, because I had helped his brother. He was very fond of me. Hello to you too. Good boy, little Shi. Smiling, I reached out and patted Yiqi's head. However, Bai Wei keenly noticed that there was something wrong with the way Yiqi looked at me. When Gunan touched Yiqi's eyes revealed an uncontrollable impulse and fervor. He desperately envied his brother for receiving Gunan affection, wishing he could take his brother's place. The intensity of it made his whole body tremble slightly. That strange, feverish look frightened Bai Wei. She couldn't tell whether it was extreme malice or some unsettling kind of goodwill. Noticing Bai Wei's stare, Yiqi suddenly turned his head, his sharp gaze fixed on her. Bai Wei startled and sidestepped, hiding behind me. and clutching my sleeve tightly, I looked up at Ichi. He instantly withdrew all that threatening intensity, returning to his dull, lifeless appearance. I could never figure out what went through his mind. You to keep looking around. I'm full, so I'll head out. Ichi nodded awkwardly, leaning forward slightly. By way, are you really full? You have school tomorrow. Get to bed early tonight. I won't be making you a late-night snack. At those words, Yixi's eyes widened in shock. He opened his mouth, wanting to ask something, but ultimately closed it. I'm full. Let's go. Bai Wei seemed somewhat afraid of Yichi. She took my hand and hurried out of the food street, only when his little brother tugged at his sleeve. Brother. Did Yichi finally pull his gaze from the street entrance? He gave his family a rare, gentle smile. Bai Wei had eaten too much. She sat on the sofa, gently rubbing her stomach. I sat beside her, took both her small hands, and placed them over her belly. Then I guided her hands, teaching her to rub in clockwise circles. Seeing how patient and earnest I was, Bai Wei blushed. This warm atmosphere made her feel more comfortable than she ever had in her biological parents' home. I went to the kitchen and made her a cup of honey mint lemonade. But Bai Wei, sitting on the sofa, suddenly became terrified of losing it all. Years of oppression in her family made her fear that this dreamlike happiness was nothing but a fragile illusion. She feared waking tomorrow to face that cold home again. I noticed something was wrong. I went over and pressed my forehead to hers, checking her temperature. After confirming she had no fever, I sat beside her. Here, honey lemonade, with a little mint to settle your stomach. I scooped up the drink with a porcelain spoon and slowly held it to her lips. She was embarrassed and wanted to drink it herself, but I insisted it would not make her feel any fuller, feeding her spoonful after spoonful. With every swallow, a warm, sweet and tart stream slid down her throat into her stomach. Watching my gentle movements without a trace of impatience, Bai Wei's eyes filled with tears. The depression and unease she had buried for so long were slowly melting beneath this profound sense of safety. That night, Bai Wei slept peacefully. In her dream, she saw her late maternal grandparents. With happy tears in her eyes, she told them she had met a truly wonderful boy. At the end of the dream, she held my hand and waved goodbye to her grandparents in the sky. As her long-standing psychological trauma slowly healed, her state of mind gradually changed. At last, she found long-lost comfort and peace. The next morning, Bai Wei got up early and made breakfast. Watching her bustle about, I realized she seemed like a different person. She had become much brighter and more optimistic. After breakfast, we changed into our uniforms and left side by side. Bai Wei, let's find time in the next couple of days to go to your house and bring your things over. At the word home, Bai Wei visibly flinched. Her fingertips curled tight. She had no idea how to face those two shattered families. I tightly held her cold left hand, passing the warmth of my palm to her. Don't worry. You don't need to worry about your family objecting. I have a way to stop them. Gunan Sheng, I really don't want to go back anymore. She clasped my hand in return, her eyes filled with pure trust and desperate longing. Trust me, I won't let you go back. You still owe me a debt. You know, you're not allowed to run away until you've paid it off. Bai Wei smiled and nodded. Having seen the brightest light of her life, she finally found the courage to escape that darkness for good. The next day, Bai Wei and I went to school side by side. The classroom rang with students reading aloud. Bai Wei and I had just taken our seats when my desk mate, Su Jin, leaned over with a gossipy grin. Hey, I heard you two went to the night market together yesterday, and it was super sweet. Is that true? Bai Wei blushed shyly. Surprised, I reached out and pinched Su Jin's cheek, rimmed gold by the sunlight. Who told you that? Spill it. Oh. Yixi's little brother, Yishi, told me. He said you were on a date with a pretty girl. I let go helplessly. Several boys in class joined in the teasing when they heard the gossip. I swept them with a stern look. Only then did they settle down and resume morning reading. Just then, a still charming middle-aged woman suddenly appeared at the classroom door. One look told me it was Bai Wei's biological mother. The instant she saw her, Bai Wei's body went rigid. Instinctively, she turned to me for help. Our homeroom teacher went to the door and exchanged a few words with her. Then he turned toward the classroom. Bai Wei, your mother is here to see you. At the signal in my eyes, Bai Wei drew a deep breath and rose to walk toward the door. The moment she stepped outside, her mother put on an apologetic expression and spoke quietly with Mr. He. Taking the hint, Mr. He returned to the classroom. From my seat, I looked through the window. Bai Wei stood not far from the door. Her eyes lowered the entire time. Her lips pressed tightly together, while her mother prattled on across from her. After quite a while, her mother seemed to snap something coldly, then turned and left. That morning, my promise had just brought a little life back to Bai Wei. But when she returned to her seat, her mood had visibly hit rock bottom. She looked up at me uneasily. I didn't press her for answers. I simply gave her a steady, meaningful smile. When she saw my smile, her tense shoulders finally loosened a little, and her expression gradually calmed. Bai Wei, what did your mom want? Nothing, just some family matters. Adult business. Kids shouldn't pry. After morning reading, I'll take you to the school store and treat you to a snack feast. Now be good and read your book. I used my book to lightly tap Sujin's nosy little head, smoothly rescuing Bai Wei from the question. But, inwardly, I had already planned my next move. Since the shadow of her family followed her everywhere, I had to gain more leverage to openly stay by her side. As morning reading was about to end, I walked straight to the front of the classroom and quietly made a request to Mr. He. At your age, your studies should come first. Mr. He, how about we make a bet? In this week's final exams, if I place in the top 10 of the class, you'll let me change seats and sit beside her. At the words top 10, Mr. He's calm eyes instantly lit up. He wasn't old-fashioned. If you can turn youthful feelings into motivation to work hard, that will earn you points with him. I admire your courage. All right, as long as you make the top 10, I will agree to it. Smiling, I hooked pinkies with him. Back at my desk, I immediately opened my English textbook and began studying like mad. My blonde-haired desk mate stared at me as if I were a monster. He exclaimed that I had suddenly become addicted to studying. I ignored him, because I knew this was a battle I had to win. As soon as morning reading ended, I kept my promise and took Bai Wei and Sujin to the school store. Sujin picked out 10 yuan's worth of snacks, trying to get even for me pinching her cheek that morning. Seeing Bai Wei was still down, I took a lollipop from the shelf and handed it to her. Have something sweet to give yourself a sugar boost. It will lift your spirits. Remember what I told you this morning. After school, I will take care of everything. Holding the lollipop, Bai Wei took several deep breaths. Finally, she gave me a bright smile that was no longer forced. The moment we left the store, I saw Jiang lounging on a planter, his eyes fixed on someone nearby. A ponytailed girl helping with the barbecue. Ku Danwan. He was so engrossed that he did not notice us approach. Yan, if you keep staring like that, people will think you are a stalker. Jiang Yan snapped back to his senses. When he saw us, he stammered, Gu, hello, sister-in-law. Bai Wei blushed furiously. I sent Bai Wei and Sujin back to class first, then sat beside Jiang Yan. Since I caught you, let me give you some advice, brother. To win a girl, there is only one word: sincerity. But I am not worried Kadanwan will reject you. I am worried about her extremely traditional father. He will never approve of your school bully look. Jiang Yan's face instantly filled with worry. In my previous life, it was this stubborn prejudice that enraged Jiang Yan's mother until she suffered a heart attack. She died, and Jiang Yan eventually lost his mind. This time, I could not let that tragedy happen again. I have a way to make him see you differently. I know of a lead on a wanted fugitive with a 100,000 yuan reward. Report it to the police. Once they catch him, you will get credit for a major contribution, with police backing and a school commendation. If her father still criticizes how you dress, tell him you dress that way to help solve the case. After enduring hardship to blend in with the thugs, he will definitely see you in a new light. Damn, Gu, that is brilliant. That 1-100-1,000 yuan reward. We split it evenly. You take 50,000. It will ease the pressure of paying for your mom's treatment and give you more time to pursue the girl. The information is completely reliable. Are you in? That is what brothers are for. With you saying that, say no more. I had just finalized the plan with Jiang Yan. When I saw Ku Danwan gather her courage and walk toward us, I slipped around the corner to watch. Jiang Yan, nearly 6 feet tall, when facing Ku Danwan, was as nervous as a child caught misbehaving. He even stuttered over his words. It turned out Ku Danwan had once called the police to get him out of trouble. She had expected the notorious school bully to be vicious and terrifying, but he was actually an innocent, stammering boy. Watching Jiang Yan follow closely behind the girl, I finally felt like a relieved old father. When I turned around, I saw Ichi standing quietly nearby. About last Friday night. I am truly sorry. Were you all right afterward? I was fine. Here, this is yours. I sent your jacket to the dry cleaner. I will return it once I get it back. I took the freshly washed handkerchief and patted his shoulder. I told him to come to me anytime he needed help. Then I turned and headed back to class. The moment I entered the classroom, I snatched away the chocolate Sujin had secretly hidden in her desk. Despite Sujin's protest, I handed the last piece to Baiwei. Gently, Baiwei broke the chocolate in half and gave half to Sujin. The classroom brimmed with the vibrant energy of youth. Back at my desk, I took out my phone and found a fax document from Mom. It was a housekeeping employment contract. The terms were clear: a monthly salary of 6,000 yuan, with free room and board, and no work harmful to her physical or mental health. Looking at the contract, I let out a long breath. This was more than an employment document. It was a legal shield I had tailored specifically for Baiwei. Once she signed it, proving she was at least 18, and had enough income to live independently, her parents' guardianship could no longer be used to control or mistreat her. Since neither family could give her warmth, I would use legal means to pull her out of that dark mire myself. After confirming the contract was in order, I sent the fugitives' details I had compiled to Jiang. Looking at the bright sunshine outside, I knew the new life Baiwei and I shared was finally about to truly begin. Just after school, as we reached the gate, Baiwei suddenly went rigid. She stepped sideways and instinctively hid behind me. I followed her gaze and saw her biological father, Jiang, standing there. Baiwei had likely been away from home for 2 days, and when her mother failed to get her from school that morning, she went straight to her father. I am here for you. Talk to him if you want. If you do not, I will handle him. You do not need to worry about anything. Baiwei's pale cheeks looked like crumpled rice paper in the spring breeze. She took 2 deep breaths and slowly relaxed her tense body. Then she followed me onward. We deliberately ignored Jiang and walked straight out of the school gate. But before we had gone far, running footsteps sounded behind us. Baiwei, wait. Your mother says you have not been home for 2 or 3 days. What is going on? Jiang addressed Baiwei, but his eyes quietly assessed me from head to toe. Baiwei pressed her lips together, her whole body trembling. She could not say a word. I did not hesitate. Right in front of her father, I firmly took her icy hand. Jiang froze at the sight. Baiwei looked at me in surprise as well. Fear flashed in her eyes, afraid her father would hurt me because of it. What is going on? You should know exactly what is going on. There was a torrential downpour last Friday night, yet she did not even have a home where she could shelter from the rain. So tell me, what was going on? Who are you? I am her classmate. Let go of her hand. Stay away from Baiwei. Your family. In that torrential rain, you would rather watch your own daughter get soaked outside than let her stay for 1 night. How could that place still be her home? For a selfish, cold-blooded hypocrite like him, I had no intention of showing any mercy. You little bastard. Who do you think you are? Who are you to lecture me? This is a family matter. It is none of your business. Let go right now, or I will call your teacher and your parents. Go ahead. Why not? I can call my parents right now. If you want them to give you a piece of their minds, too, I do not mind at all. You are molesting her. Let go, or I will call the police. Making a false police report can get you detained. The authorities are not your private bodyguards. Sir, I suggest you calm down. Unable to argue back, Jiang reached out to drag Baiwei away by force. My eyes turned cold. I seized his wrist in a hard grip. The restraint techniques I had learned in the police force in my past life gave me strength far beyond an ordinary high school student. Jiang let out a muffled groan of pain. I am only going to tell you 3 things. Listen carefully. First, Baiwei is in her mother's custody. You have no right to control or touch her by force. Take your hands off her. Second, when she needed protection most, you watched as she was driven into that storm. What right do you have today to stand here and pretend you care? Third, she is already an adult, and she can support herself. She does not need your charity. If there is nothing else, we are going to have lunch. Goodbye. With that, I forcefully shook off his hand. If you dare harass her again, I will hang a banner outside your company. I will let your co-workers and bosses hear how On a night of torrential rain, you shut your own daughter out. I imagine that would hurt your chances of promotion. I had hit him precisely where it hurt. That was the weak point of a selfish man like him. Bai Chengfeng stood completely frozen. I had left him speechless. Let us go. On the way home, Bai Wei kept glancing up at me. To her, I was both familiar and strange. I carried a maturity far beyond any high school student's years. I am sorry, Bai Wei. I lost control of my temper just now. I lashed out at your father without asking. I did not consider how you felt. Suddenly, I felt some regret. After all, he was her biological father. By confronting him so fiercely, I might have put her in an impossible position. I am very happy. She gently squeezed my palm. Her fingertips absently brushed the back of my hand. She lowered her gaze. The way you stood in front of me, the way you spoke up for me without hesitation. You are only a high school student, yet you dared to stand up to my father. I truly am so happy. She raised her head. Only then did I see that at some point, her face had become drenched in tears. I took out my handkerchief and gently dabbed the tears from her reddened eyes. Why are you crying if you are happy? She said nothing. She only looked at me and gave me a dazzling smile. Those tears carried her complete release from the past and her joy at being reborn. Silly girl. Crying one moment and smiling the next. But there is nothing wrong with crying. Being able to smile after crying. That is what being healthy looks like. Hearing my gentle words, Bai Wei felt the block of ice long frozen in her heart finally melt away completely. When we got home, I served 2 heaping bowls of taro and pork rib rice from the cooker. That is too much. I cannot finish it. When your master says you're hungry, you're hungry. Eat up. Even if you reached 120 pounds, you will always have a home here. If you really do gain weight, I will be your drill sergeant and work out with you. Do not torture yourself over your figure. Girls are cute when they are a little soft and chubby. Like Sujin, her cheeks feel so nice to pinch. Then if I get all chubby, will you bully me by pinching my cheeks every day, too? I could never bring myself to do that. Besides, you are my employee now. If I bullied you, that would be workplace harassment. You could report me to the labor department, and I could not afford the compensation. There is not even a contract. What could I report you for? Who says there is not? I set down my bowl and chopsticks, walked over to the fax machine, and handed the document to her. I already had your sign your life away contract ready. Sign it after you finish eating. Bai Wei looked at the name on the contract in surprise. Mrs. Gu. You told your mother? For this to be legal, she had to handle it. Did she say anything else? She did. She said she would fire you if you did not take good care of me. Especially this clause. Attend to my daily needs. For example, if my bed is too cold at night, you have to warm it up for me. That is obviously an outrageous clause. That kind of special service cost extra. Seeing that she was no longer as awkward and shy as before, and had even learned to joke with me, I could not help laughing. This liberating contract had finally brought her safely under my wing. A gentle warmth filled the air around the dining table. Bai Wei flipped through the papers on the table. She had thought it was just a joke to brush her off, but every detail was covered in the terms. It was astonishingly official. You are not really planning to pay me the salary written here, are you? Once it is signed in black and white. Of course, it is legally binding. If I do not pay, you can sue me later. I could face several times the damages. That will not do. Maybe we should not make this contract after all. Seeing how uneasy she looked, I slowly took a sip of milk. I already had a plan in mind. This contract is not just the two of us playing house. Its real purpose is to deal with any trouble your parents may cause later. At the mention of her parents, I keenly noticed her shoulders flinch almost imperceptibly. Her eyes were filled with confusion. My parents? What does this have to do with them? You may have just reached adulthood, but until you have a stable income, you are still completely under their control. But under Article 18 of the Civil Code, as long as you have a stable income sufficient to support yourself, you are considered to have full civil capacity. I quickly unlocked my phone and held the relevant statute out to her. Simply put, as long as you have this job, you have the right to reject any coercive interference from your parents. If they force you, you can use the law to protect yourself. Is this really true? No outsider could possibly imagine That kind of family emotional abuse that kills without shedding blood had pushed her into such a desperate situation. As she looked at the statue now, I finally saw the darkness in her eyes completely fade away, replaced by a vitality I had never seen before. Now you see the benefits, right? Finish your meal, then sign it like a good girl. But 6,000 yuan a month is really too much. My mom only earns 3,000 yuan a month. I cannot possibly do a housekeeper's job well. How about we cut it in half? Silly girl, you eat my food and live under my roof. In the end, I will just get that money back from you anyway. That number is only there for outsiders to see. It will all be mine in the end. Oh, then I am relieved. Seeing her relax at once, she shoveled big mouthfuls of pork rib rice into her mouth, as if every grain of rice had turned wonderfully sweet. I could not resist teasing her again. I am kidding. You will not lose a single cent. If you think it is too much, we will use your salary for all the household expenses from now on. Let me really experience what it is like to be kept by someone. All right. Promise to use my own salary from now on, to provide classmate Gu Nansheng with food and drink for the rest of his life. Let us record a video as proof. After dinner, she signed the contract in high spirits. She even hummed a cheerful tune, forcibly chased me out of the kitchen, then put on gloves herself, and happily began washing the dishes. The living room became quiet again. Then I suddenly remembered the calming herbs I had brought back from Grandpa and Grandma's last night. The old folks said, putting them beneath a pillow would help you sleep more soundly. I had been so busy yesterday that I completely forgot. I entered the guest room. She had made the bed with meticulous care. A faint, pleasant fragrance lingered in the air. I walked straight to the window and casually lifted the pillow. Then my gaze froze instantly. A cold fruit knife lay silently beneath the pillow. My pupils contracted sharply. It was nearly identical to the weapon the coroner in my past life identified as the murder weapon that killed Bai Wei. This definitely was not a knife from my home. From the moment she arrived here, drenched by the downpour and stranded on the streets, she had kept this knife on her at all times. Countless scenes from my previous life exploded through my mind. Suicide could be ruled out completely, because the angle of the wound was entirely wrong. But if she herself had brought the murder weapon, then everyone I had once ruled out because they were not carrying a weapon could no longer be excluded as suspects. Yichi, who had been bullied, street thugs, homeless people passing by, delivery drivers, even anyone who had merely passed her by. Since she had the weapon on her, anyone who had passed through that area on the night of the murder could have taken the knife and committed the crime. Every deduction I had made before was overturned in that instant. Gu Nansheng, this knife of mine, it is not. At some point, she had appeared in the doorway after washing the dishes. She saw me standing there blankly, pillow in hand. Then she saw the fruit knife exposed on the bed. Extreme panic instantly flooded her eyes. She was terrified that I would misunderstand. It is all right. You do not need to explain. A girl on her own should have this kind of awareness about safety. I pulled her tightly into my arms, feeling how stiff and helpless she was. Behind my unreadable gaze, I was frantically sifting through the tangled mountain of case details from my past life. In this life, I swear,